Today's guest helps successful entrepreneurs find their own zen, fabulous sleep, who doesn't need that, and vibrance, effortless weight loss with their own practices and lifestyle strategies. Please welcome certified professional health and weight loss coach, Miss Claudine. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited. There's so many things we could talk about on this wellness journey. I feel like who doesn't need more sleep? We all do. But let's dive into it because I know that there is a lot of confusion about what is a health coach? What does a health coach actually do? So let's dive into that first and foremost so we can kind of clear some of that up for people.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of your listeners and viewers probably are familiar with business coaches, right? So a lot of us know what a business coach is. It's someone who gives you strategy for developing your business. It's someone who holds you accountable to the things you want to achieve. And a health coach is basically that, but for your health, right? So someone who helps you either lose weight and gives you strategies for how to do that. Someone who might help you with an autoimmune disorder and like, what do you eat? How do you still, live a life? If you have family, if you're going out to eat, that kind of thing, like basically strategy and accountability is what a health coach would do, but for your health.
That's awesome. And I think one thing that you touched on, I was like, yeah, when you go on vacation, how do you stay on plan? Like there's so many people that are confused by that. So that's so cool that you are there to support us, just like we have business coaches. So that's so cool. So tell me, what got you interested in being a health coach?
I was a CFO of a multinational produce company. I've been in accounting for 20 some years. And, for anyone who's been in accounting, it's high stress. There's a lot of deadlines. And, in my 20s and 30s, that was exciting. And that was, it was fun getting that adrenaline going. But as I got older, that really started to take its toll on my body. And I started to develop a lot of health issues. I had constant migraines. I found out later I had leaky gut, which explains why I couldn't, like everything I ate hurt me. I was working out and I thought I was eating healthy, but I was still overweight. All these things were like, just kind of like the world was crashing down on me from a health perspective. And I was like, what is going on? So I went through my own health journey and it took me about 5 years to figure out how to support my body, how to support myself, and eat in a way that was delicious because I like to eat. I really like flavor. I like food. And I grew up, my mom's Polish. And so we always baked, but everything was like flour, butter, sugar. Right. So it took me about 5 years to figure out how to make the foods that I liked that were going to support me from a health perspective, because flour, butter, sugar wasn't really helping me.
I feel like too, as business owners, like that's the first thing that gets pitched out the window. You're like, oh, I'll just stop and get some fast food, or, oh my gosh, I waited too long to eat and now I'm starving. So I have to make a not so great choice. Like that's so many of us. So what do you think is a way that if you're a business owner and you're crazy busy, what's the best way to improve our health? Where should we start?
Oh my goodness. Well, I start with sleep. Sleep is the number one thing, because if you're tired and you're exhausted and you're harried all the time, then you're obviously not going to have the cognitive ability to be like, what do I want to make for dinner? Forget it. And I say that, and I know a lot of people are groaning, right? When I say get more sleep, they're like, hi, how am I supposed to get more sleep? I have a million things on my plate. And I would say that, first of all, it's making ourselves a priority, right? Like, yes, we would love for the laundry to be folded and put away as soon as we wash it. But if that means going to bed an hour later and you know that you need that sleep, because here's the other thing with sleep. When we get less sleep, we tend to eat more salty and sugary things. We have more cravings. So basically, by getting less sleep, not only are you going to make not so great choices, you're also putting a stressor on your body, and stress leads us to hold on to weight. So it's like the worst thing.
Like a vicious cycle, right?
It's absolutely awful. Yeah. So getting like that's the first thing I start with all my clients: get enough sleep. And sleep, when I say enough, the average human being on this planet needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So anyone who says that, oh, I could buy on 4, I could buy on 6, they are kidding themselves. They are probably compensating with caffeine, because our brains need that downtime to rejuvenate and our cells need that time to rejuvenate.
Well, and I think too, it's not only people, taking caffeine in the morning. What about like the afternoon slump, like after you have lunch, like, and you're just like, I need caffeine to like give me more energy because I need a nap, but I don't want to do that because I'm so busy and I have all these things going on. And it's like what you mentioned, it's just over and over and over. Plus, I don't know about anybody else, but for myself, I feel like when I'm tired, I should just go take a nap because I'm like make mistakes and like have to do things over and over. When if I just like took a power nap and came back to it, I probably am way more effective. So, what are your tips for getting more energy in the afternoon so we don't default to like a sugary coffee or something like that?
Oh my gosh, you are speaking. When I was in the CFO world, when I was in accounting, I actually had a candy jars. I like would fill them for my employees and we would do Starbucks runs. And it was like the worst combination of like caffeine high, crash, sugar high, crash. Like, so I hear what you're saying. And it's funny what you say about the crash after lunch. That's assuming we eat lunch,
True. Good
right?
point.
Like and this is another thing I work on with my clients is like, you absolutely have to prepare so that you're not caught out, right? So part of it is what you eat for lunch, right? Like if you eat a lot of refined products, like if you do go through the drive-through and you're getting like I don't know, Happy Meal, what do people get it? The Taco Bell, whatever it is, even if it's In-N-Out. I know people in California are like all about In-N-Out. But a lot of those products are going to be high fat, high refined carbs, and that is going to give you a sugar crash, right? Because those things turn easily into sugar in your body. But when I am feeding myself well, if I'm still tired, I mean, theoretically, I'm getting enough sleep, right? So that's number one. There are a few things that I'll do. One is I'll go for a walk. Because, getting that walk just kind of gets your blood moving and and naturally rejuvenates you. You had mentioned a power nap, which is a great thing. I recently learned about the caffeine nap. Have you heard about this?
No, tell me more about it.
So it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to really register caffeine when you have like a coffee or something, right? And so what some people will do is they'll drink a cup of coffee, set their timer for 20 minutes, nap. And then right when their timer goes off is when the caffeine kicks in.
Wow.
I haven't tried this because I can't really have caffeine. Half of us actually can't have caffeine. We don't know it. Our bodies don't process it well. And I found out the hard way because, some of us, we get more tired when we have caffeine. But I would say a walk, doing some deep breathing and nap is great. Doing like a mini meditation, even like a 2-minute meditation. Cause most of us are like, I don't have 20 minutes to do a meditation. It's like 2 minutes, boom.
Totally.
That helps with the focus. It helps with the energy.
Well, and maybe just even like getting up from your desk. Like if you're like sitting for long periods of time and focused and you're like, I don't have time to take 2 minutes. It's like if you did that, you would have that much more energy and you would come back with a fresh brain and fresh ideas. And it's fascinating to me how we abuse our bodies. I mean, stress, like there's so much going on. Like you mentioned, I know I've suffered from it. What are the best ways for us to deal with stress of getting it all done, but then like being able to feel like calm when we go home to our families? Like, what are your tips for that? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yes, I want to answer that. But something you just said made me remember something else, which is getting up from my desk. I have two things for that. One is I have a watch that tells me, get up from your desk, like get up. And then another thing is I make sure to drink plenty of water, and I like to put lemon in it, which is also kind of like jazzes you up. But if I drink enough water, I have to get up to go pee. It's biology. It forces
So
you to
true.
get up. Yeah. So your question was about how to get it all done and how to de-stress. There are a few things that I have found, and this is funny because in the accounting world, I was in corporate America, right? There's not a lot of woo-woo in corporate America. So the fact that I am like touting meditation is like, who is this person? Because I did not find meditation easily. I did not take to it easily. It is a practice because it takes practice. And I will say that doing my morning meditation, even if it's just 10 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes, I started with 3 minutes. There's lots of apps. There's like Calm, Headspace, Insight Timer, lots of them. And they can start with, as little as 1 minute. And you got to find the voice that works for you, because some of the voices just like, make you cringe. And so I have to do the British lady. I can't have a man telling me what to do anymore. I'm like, that was corporate America. I can't do it. So definitely meditation will help calm you down. There's some great adaptogens for stress. And it's not like you're taking a Xanax. Okay. Like I think a lot of people, when I say adaptogens, they're like, oh, great, I'm automatically going to feel calm. No, it's more like Gatorade for your stress system. So it just like helps your body get through the stress better. But ashwagandha is a great adaptogen for that. You can have like an ashwagandha latte. I mean, mine are like a ashwagandha kind of mocha or hot chocolate that doesn't have caffeine in it, or there's like teas that have ashwagandha in it, or you can just put it in your protein shake, like as the powder form. But anything that lowers your stress, if it's yoga, if everyone's gonna be different, right? If it's walking in nature, which is a great one, if it's taking a few deep breaths, deep breaths actually stimulates our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of the fight or flight. So just doing that automatically calms our system and helps us get to that focus that we need, right? Because a lot of times we're in a stressful situation, we need to think clearly. We actually need to be like, all right, vroom, everything else is out of my periphery. Help me focus.
I'm so glad that you brought up the apps because you're right. Same thing for me. I'm like, some of those voices, whoo, cannot do it. But I think the encouraging part is that there's so many options that you can go out and you can find your person, your meditation, whatever it is. And I know for me in the very beginning, oh man, I was all over the place. I couldn't focus. And I think you're absolutely right in the fact that it is a practice. You have to allow yourself to be like, listen, if you can only do 2 minutes, it's totally cool. You got to work up to it. So I'm glad that you mentioned
Yes,
that.
we need to be not so hard on ourselves. Give
Agreed.
ourselves some
Yep.
grace.
Agreed. Yeah, I'd say that all the time. Now, so let's say we're like focus, clarity, like we're about to dive into our work day. We've gotten a good breakfast. What are some like tips for having more focus and clarity when we're diving into our work day?
Yes. So you said we've already gotten a good night's sleep, right? We've already nourished our bodies.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned, the lemon water is great for me. I feel like that just kind of zings me up, and some people don't like lemon, so they could use like apple cider vinegar with a touch of honey, that kind of thing. Those are all really great for our gut health too, which a happy gut is a healthy you. But even like healthy snacks, like I love this time of year, I love berries. So berries are high fiber, and people worry about fruit. They're like, oh, but that's so much sugar. It's not the sugar content, it's the sugar less the fiber, right? So if it's something like berries, it's great. Even high protein snacks, like I'll love like a hard boiled egg, or even like throwing some avocado because healthy fats. Some kind of healthy snack. And then, like I said earlier, a mini meditation is great for just getting refocused if you need to, especially if you get an annoying email or have an annoying phone call, like just being able to drop in for a minute and let it go. I find it's really helpful before moving on to the next task and yelling at the next person or my kid. I'm not talking about me at all.
I'm just going to say, I'm like, I know nothing of that. I know nothing of that. I'm sure so many people out there are like, oh my gosh, she just totally described me. Now, those are awesome because those are like when we're diving into our workday. But what are your suggestions if we're about to take on like a huge project or a tough call or a launch or something where we're like kind of like amped up already, but we know that we're going to need more energy and maybe for a long period of time rather than like having a coffee or an energy drink or something like that? What are your suggestions for that?
I'm pausing because I do this, right? I do this for a living. And yet I still have to remind myself to follow these practices. One is to be consistent with your sleep, your self-care, and your stress management. But the other, and this is going to be probably a little bit different than what maybe some people are expecting, is that most of us, well, all of us women who are still in childbearing years, we have a cycle. And if there is any way to be able to coordinate your busy month with where you are in the cycle, it really, really helps. Because for me, if I'm in luteal phase, which is basically what most people think of as premenstrual, and I am pushing, I am definitely going to have a headache. I'm going to feel really groggy. I'm not going to be as focused when I need to, like, let's say I'm presenting something, right? It's usually, for me, it's like usually I'm getting ready for a launch or a big, like a 5-day program or something like that. So if there's any way I can be preparing during follicular phase, which is right after menstrual when you have more energy, and putting on the program or whatever it is during ovulatory, which is when you're the most verbal and you have the most enthusiasm, then that is perfect. But we can't always manage our lives around our cycle, unfortunately. Dang it. Why doesn't everyone just revolve around me? So in that case, making sure that I follow the self-care practices really is the best way to do it. Sleep is my number one non-negotiable. It's just, I know that I don't perform well without sleep, because again, I can't compensate with caffeine. I personally can't. And people who can are, it's kind of like a false bit of energy, right? And you do get a crash afterwards, because it does like do your blood sugar, it goes up and then it goes down, and then you want sweets or some kind of refined carb. Yeah, candy. Yes. So making sure you do the sleep, the self-care, and just taking care of yourself in general, it's kind of like putting your oxygen mask on first, right? And we're such givers. So many of us women are human givers, and I don't want to say it's in our DNA, but we have been socialized to believe that we need to put everyone else first. And it just isn't true.
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's so important. There's so many things that we've touched on. I feel like there's so much more that we could dive into. I feel like this is such a huge topic, but where can people find you if they're like, I need to know more about this. There was something that you touched on that like really hit home for people. Where's the best place to connect with you?
They can always find me on social media. Facebook and Instagram are the best at In Good Clean Taste. And, on Instagram, especially, I have like a bunch of free items that they can, a lot of resources. I have a blog with recipes and articles that might help some people. But if they want to connect with me, if they actually want to talk with me, they can go to weightlosswithclaudine.com and they can just book an appointment.
Oh, that's cool. And then they can talk directly with you, right?
Yeah. Free consultation for your people.
Awesome. Well, and I'll be sure to link that in the show notes too, so people have, can get to it right away. Now, one other question that I want to ask you before we leave is, what's one piece of advice that you would give to a small business owner? I love, I've asked this to everybody, so I'm always curious, what is everybody's different take on this question?
And I think as women, we often tend to doubt ourselves. And, as a business owner who's gone through all the ups and downs, I have had many, many ups and downs. And I would say that just believe in yourself. I actually have this little sticky note on my thing. It says, I am resilient. Having resilience, knowing that you chose this path because you have a passion, you have something to share with the world, and believing that truly, you probably already believe it, but sometimes we doubt. Having some way, either it's like a support system of, people, friends, coaches, whatever it is, that can continue to remind you of why you're doing this. And of course, take care of yourself in the meantime, so you don't get burnt out. I think that would be my biggest advice to anyone who is doing what we're doing, right?
Yeah. I love the fact that it could even be something as simple as a sticky note on your computer. Sometimes we get wrapped up as entrepreneurs and it's got to be this big complicated thing. And sometimes it's just easy. Like, don't forget to sleep,
Set a timer.
Take a nap, friend. Whatever you got to do. Yeah. Right? Well, it was so great to connect with you today. I really appreciate you stopping by. I know you're crazy busy, but thank you for sharing all these tips with us. We'll be sure to link everything in the show notes. So thank you again so much for stopping by.
It is my pleasure. It was wonderful speaking with you. Thank you.